friendship is you get what you give. You get what you give. And if you are there for people, you're going to feel so good about having done that. And then the reciprocation effect, which you probably know very well, is so great in the world that anytime you're kind to people, you build this incredible bond. And then what are we at the end of the day, Lex, besides a series of memories with the people we love? That's all it is. It's just a series of memories and moments. It's just moments.
Yeah.
You ever see Blade Runner?
Yes, of course.
Do you remember what Rutger Hauer says at the end? All of these memories gone, like tears in the rain.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our existence. It just all goes away at some point. It's just these drops of rain. Each of those memories, just like one snowflake or one drop of rain, and they're all lost at some point, but they're here now. And that's why we have to be there for each other. That's why I feel like what I do is so important in this world. And I get such great meaning out of it. Just being a friend, just having these conversations, what you're doing on your podcast, just talking to intelligent people and spreading the word and the gospel of what they're saying and amplifying it. You're inspiring so many people. Every podcast, you get 500,000 people, 1 million people watch these videos. And there's some kid in Sri Lanka or some little girl in Afghanistan who's going to stumble upon this on YouTube, and they're going to change the world in the next century. Because it's not just about America. Like, our story is almost over, right? Like we were the story of the last 200 or 300 years. I hope it keeps going. But there's all these other places in the world, Sao Paulo and Africa, where people now have access to these videos. And somebody will hear this video and go, Elon did it. Oh, and that guy Jason was his friend. And Lex does those interviews with oh yeah, I could do it too.
Your little magical moment of love amidst the suffering with Elon, because you've talked about it, it'll have these ripple effects. It's fascinating to think about. In
so
decades
weird
to come,
yeah.
in new entrepreneurs being born, more love being put out there, in more support through these rough times when people are trying to create new things. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful. I'm glad you think of friendship in this way. I'm deeply grateful that you're loyal.
Every time you invest,
the way you are.
Here's the thing: it costs you nothing to make this investment either. The amount of time it takes to be bitter or angry, sitting at home, to be disappointed, you could just channel that same amount of energy into being loyal, loving, kind, and there for people. It just only takes the intention, right? Those emotions are gonna flow, right? Like Sam would always tell me when I was struggling in my life. And I talked to him, he'd say, Jason, your brain is spewing all these ideas. Imagine you're sitting by a river, and the river is all your ideas. You are not a slave to any one of these ideas. They're just whipping by like each of those little waves in the river. You can pick one of those ideas out and look at it and examine it and either keep it or throw it back in the river and let it go. And I was like, wow, Sam, that was like, of my entire friendship with Sam Harris, that was like the one moment where I was just like, oh my God. All my life, I've wondered about all these thoughts in my head, insecurities, imposter syndrome. Yeah. Like I didn't go to MIT, I'm not the smartest guy, but somehow I made a career writing little 50K checks and now, $3 million checks, but whatever, little checks and being a journalist and doing this little podcast, and it's added up to something. Yeah. And I'm proud of it. I'm 50 and I'm kind of proud of what I did. And I wake up every morning, I could retire, and I say, I kind of like what I do. I kind of like having the conversation and writing the check and then being on somebody's team. And I got offered to be in these giant mega funds. And they said, Jason, you're an idiot. You invest in 60 companies a year, $500K at a time. You put $30 million a year to work. Come work with us, write one $50 million check, and then you can go to Aspen and Cabo and Coachella and not work. Why are you doing all this work? It's like, well, the $50 million check is like, it's like a formality. It's just like being an ATM. Like the companies are already huge by that time. I really want to meet the two people with the idea. I want to meet them in year one.
Yes.
I want to meet them on day 0. Yeah. I want to be the guy who wrote the first, second, or third check. Yeah. I don't want a guy who wrote the 3,000th check, the last check. That's fucking boring.
And make that basic human connection, and also be there and be with them through the rough times. Be with them with that first. The first early successes. That's a beautiful.
So great when a founder and their team get product market fit, and you just know it's going to work. Oh man, Lex, it's when Com would email me and they'd say, we added, the company's been growing and we're not going to go out of business, but we added some sleep stuff, and then we added this other function, and we have a streak now, and we grew 10x in the last 3 months, and we're good. It's like, that's nice. It's real nice. It's a nice feeling when you, because so many of them die. We talked about that J curve early. Imagine it's like all these baby turtles going out to the ocean, and the seagulls are ripping them to shreds, and then the sharks are eating them. But then like a couple of the turtles make it, and they become wise old 100-year-old turtles. Yeah. And you're like, yep, I remember when you catched, and like all of your brothers and sisters were ripped to shreds by the seagulls, and you made it into the water, and then you made it out to the deep water. It's a pretty great feeling.
I think there's no better way to end it.
There it is.
Than the talk of the cruelty of life, the suffering that is life, and the love amidst the suffering. Jason, absolutely. I've been a fan of yours for a long time. You're one of the most special people in Silicon Valley.
Thanks, Lex.
And maybe you'll also call me in one of the rough times.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there'll be many.
There will be, yeah. There's one expression: nobody gets there alone. Yes. Nobody gets there alone. And anybody who thinks that they got there alone is delusional and kidding themselves. And they will at some point wake up and realize, oh shit, there were a lot of people who helped me get here. I need to write a couple of gratitude letters. I got a gratitude letter the other day from a friend of mine who I helped. And I was one of the, you know about these gratitude letters people are writing? Mm. It turns out Martin Seligman in, was it Authentic Happiness? Anyway, the guy who really studied happiness and joy, turns out one of the greatest amplifiers of joy in your life is to thank somebody for doing something for you. And somebody who I had helped just wrote me a letter, and I got in Christmas, and I had the stack of Christmas cards, and I hadn't opened them. Yeah. And it's the second week of January, and I was just getting to like the last stack, and I opened it up, and I almost missed it. It's an incredibly heartwarming letter about how meaningful like certain things I had done to help him along the way, and how he'd always appreciated my counsel. And I was just like, well, this happened 25 years ago. Yeah. And you wrote this letter now. Yeah. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was just like, wow, if you're hearing this, there's probably 10 people who were really instrumental in your lives. Go ahead and call them on the phone, write them an email, or even better, just write a letter and send it to them, and just tell them you're thankful. And let me tell you something. The amplification of joy in your life will go 100x. 100x when you tell somebody you love them and that you really appreciate them and that what they did for you was magical. So and you can look it up, gratitude. Gratitude is like one of these incredible forces.
Amen.
I'm grateful
Jason,
for being on the pod.
I'm grateful. You wasted all this time with me. I love it.